senator from New Jersey, my neighbor, Senator Menendez, for being here, but for all of his terrific work on this legislation. You know, Senator Menendez and I, this is going to come as breaking news, so make sure you don't miss this. He and I disagree on a number of policy matters. But, you know, I discovered a long time ago, you don't make much progress dwelling on the things you disagree on. Or if you want to make progress, you look for the areas where there's agreement. And we've been able to find, I think, some really important and substantive areas of agreement that are going to be very helpful. If we can succeed in getting this legislation passed, it'll be helpful for small businesses, for the creation of jobs, for the economy in general. The bill that we're unveiling today is the Startups, Jobs, and Innovation Act. And I think it's aptly named. You know, we all know that we continue to have a weak economic recovery. We don't have growth at the pace that we would like to see that growth. There are far too many people who are out of work and having a real hard time getting back into the workforce. This legislation will help address those things, help us to pick up some steam in the economy, specifically in the area that is historically the engine of new job growth, and that's the small business part of our economy. Our legislation will make it easier to start a new business. It'll make it easier to expand an existing business, and it'll make it easier and more affordable for existing small businesses to comply with an incredibly complicated federal tax code. I'll just touch on a couple of the big provisions. As you may know, currently the tax code allows small businesses to expense $500,000 in equipment purchases. That's set to expire. Our legislation would make that provision permanent. We'd encourage more long-term investment by permanently extending and expanding relief from the double taxation of investments in small business. We would double the amount of startup expenses that a small business can deduct. And as I said earlier, we'd ease tax compliance by allowing small businesses greater opportunity to use cash accounting basis. You know, I've spent more of my adult life in business than I have in government, and most of that time was my own small business that my brothers and I started. And I can tell you, I remember very well the challenges and struggles of trying to make the financing work for a small growing business. Things like increasing the deduction of the startup expense. I know that helps. I know that when I was operating my restaurants, the ability to expense the cost of a new walk-in cooler or a new refrigerator or dishwashing machine or whatever it might have been, that makes a difference in being able to purchase those items. So I know this will make a real meaningful difference if we can get this passed. We do have broad support from groups that have weighed in on this already. The NFIB, Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association, the National Association of Manufacturers, the Biotechnology Industry Organization, Coalition of Small Business Innovators, and others. So I'm very optimistic about our prospects, and I'm very grateful to Senator Menendez for his work on this as well. I'll turn it over to Senator Menendez.
Thank you. Well, I'm pleased to be here with Senator Toomey, who obviously, as a colleague on the Senate Finance Committee, in his experience before he came to the Senate, he mentioned some of the businesses that he started up, but also in his overall finance universe brings a strong voice to our advocacy for small businesses. And we share states here in which the synergy of our economies is very often interlaced. And so it's a natural fit in this particular regard. And since we both share both seats on the Finance Committee, share a border, we know that there are a lot of businesses small businesses in Pennsylvania and New Jersey who are looking for solutions to common challenges. And that's why we're here to introduce this legislation together. We know that starting a business takes more than a good idea and a great business plan. It takes guts. Every entrepreneur takes a risk and faces a series of uncertainties and unpredictable obstacles on the path to success. And just staying competitive in a global economy can be a struggle. So we're here today to try to make it a little easier to start a business, a little easier to take a great idea from the drawing board and make it a reality, That's why, particularly in this research and development issues that I have been working on for some time, to help us create the best innovative and creative job opportunities that exist. That's why we've been involved in finding ways for small businesses to use the same tax preferences for innovation available to established firms, and that's why I'm happy to join with Senator Toomey today. I think one of the greatest obstacles for every startup is navigating the tax system. The code is confusing at best. Most of it has been written with big business in mind. There's nothing wrong with that, but major corporations can afford high-priced tax lawyers to minimize the confusion, but a new startup has all it can do to figure out the system. This bill rewrites parts of it to be far more small business friendly, and I won't go over the provisions, but I do think that Senator Toomey highlighted them, and they're exceptionally important. I also think that the ability to have a high-tech small business use the same tax preferences that large firms have available for innovation are incredibly important. And the one highlight that I will focus on, which is the work I've been doing with Bio on a whole host of things, investors in research-intensive small companies would be able to deduct losses and receive credits which are currently available to the business but don't actually benefit from them, providing incentives to invest in innovative small businesses. I think that's incredibly important. And by providing a limited exception for small R&D intensive companies, our bill would stimulate capital formation for growing innovative businesses and speed the development of groundbreaking technologies. So I see this about encouraging entrepreneurship, but also about creating jobs. I don't think we can stand by and let good ideas die on the drawing board. We need to nurture those ideas to encourage innovation and experimentation. You never know, as has been our experience in New Jersey, that the new, startup company ends up being the one that ultimately finds a critical cure or a new biotech opportunity to meet some of the challenges our people face in terms of healthcare, or in a product that makes their lives more accessible, more livable, more full. And so nurturing that opportunity is a great part of what we have here. I think there's a lot of support for many of these provisions, some of them which has already been temporary. We believe they should be permanent. Having a fixed ability to know what the tax code will say for you moving years out has a greater power and effect in terms of what we're trying to create here in terms of small businesses and jobs that are the biggest generators of jobs in the country. And I think we're going to have a good opportunity to try to make this package happen.